Hello and welcome to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and please watch this video all the way through to the end without having an immediate reaction to something that I say. When I even grazed this subject before, I had people in the comments that were jumping to conclusions. They seemed confused about things that were fairly obvious, and it became readily apparent to me that people had formed their opinion within like 30 seconds of even hearing the topic. So I really don't want people to be saying, why are you guys still talking about this? Just leave this guy alone. This is someone's private life. What I'm talking about is not someone's private life. What I'm going to be talking about is someone's public life. Their public persona, things they have said publicly. So there's no closed doors that we're bursting down wide open here. So please just watch the video to the end and then form an opinion. Don't be a sheep. Think for yourself. Now, I am going to be presenting a scenario to you where one of three things is basically going to be true. Either I'm lying and I'm putting my entire integrity on the line for no apparent reason, but I could be lying. Either Kim Silvio is lying. If you don't know who Kim Silvio is, then I guess you'll have to catch yourself up to speed on all of the drama. Or three, Lloyd Evans is lying. So one of us is lying in this picture that I'm about to paint for you, and you need to make the decision on who you want to believe. Gather the evidence and then form your opinion, but don't form your opinion before you've gathered the evidence. Now, I have had to record this video. This is the third time now, and you can see the microphone is a little bit messed up here. We got some extra foam to hold the whole unit together, but that's okay because the audio does sound good now. Anyway, with all of that being said, I'm going to try and have this not be as edited as normal one of my videos might be, because I want it to be just a little bit pure and honest and not look like it's all kind of choppy and hodgepodge and making memes and fun out of things, because I do believe this is quite serious. So what am I talking about? Well, about 2 weeks ago, I woke up and wiped the crust out of my eyes and had the good old classic moment of, is this all there is to life? And as any good man in 2022 does, he distracts himself from these existential crises and picks up his phone and goes on YouTube. Now, when I went on YouTube, I saw that Kim Silvio had made a video about Mr. Evans, and I clicked on it and was listening to it. And then I scrolled down into the comments section, which isn't something I often do, but I noticed that Lloyd was replying to people live in real time. So I was like, oh goodness, I have had a question that I think is really important involving the Truth About the Truth documentary. And maybe, just maybe, he'll be gracious enough to answer my question over here in the YouTube comments section. And lo and behold, something really weird and fascinating, and I think quite telling about people's character happened. Let me tell you about it. One more quick note before I really get into this, and that is I want to see the divisions and the lines in the sand that I feel are being drawn between the people that can't stand Mr. Evans and the people that will always support him no matter what. There doesn't need to be this dividing line. There's the infighting within the community itself is really bad, and it's not necessary. And we can I'm sorry to say it because I'm not your dad here, but we can all just grow up a little bit. We can make our choices. We can call a duck, as I like to say, and that's fine. And we don't need to have this mentality of an us versus them, because it's a situation that literally it doesn't exist, I don't think, really, and it doesn't need to exist. Now, I understand why it appears that there are two sides to the XJW community nowadays, but I guess I would say, who's the one causing those divisions? Who's the one making it seem as if it is a binary thing? It's certainly not me, and a lot of my friends don't really have this mentality either. We're more about, hey, let's get the to the bottom of things. Let's get the truth out there, and let's be building our community on integrity and honesty, and not on lies and saving face and making fun of people. So at least, I mean, maybe that's just like me and most of the people I talk to, and maybe I'm just like a bubble-headed person that thinks, can't we all just get along? And the other thing too is, ultimately, what I think most people want to see is reform. They don't want, when they're calling out bad behaviors, it's not as if it's like, well, you're bullying me and you just want to see me taken down and you just don't want me to exist anymore as a human being, do you? No, I was hoping that the world would be a better place if your behavior changed. If your behavior went from lying to honesty, if your behavior went from cheating on your wife and lying to your wife and kids to not doing that, I think that the world is a better place. So it's about reforming the behavior. But the thing that I've noticed and come to a pretty firm conclusion on is there hasn't been any reform. It's just doubling down and getting worse. And honestly, I wouldn't have cared. I would never have made this video unless Lloyd Evans called out my personal integrity. That's the moment where I say, you done fucked up, bucko, because now I am going to talk about it. I didn't care before, but if you're going to call into question me, I'm going to be the first one to rise up and defend myself against your silliness. And this is truly silly. Like the most trivial thing you can possibly imagine. But at the end of the day, it does involve me personally now. So I am going to talk about it. So let us go to the dumpster fire that is the YouTube comments section. I'm not saying it's a dumpster fire because of any of you guys, but I'm saying there are a lot of trolls out there, and it makes the YouTube comments section quite the Wild West out there. So anyway, during Kim Silvio's video, which was addressing Lloyd Evans' video to his patrons, and he was making comments and interacting with people, I threw in my 2 cents because I was curious to see if I could have this legitimate question that has been in my mind answered. And I got pretty close, but then everything went really goofy, wacko mode. So let's get into it. Wally Barnett, JW Thoughts, says, at Lloyd Evans. As someone on the outside of this whole fiasco, I am curious about something I thought about last week that perhaps you could help me with. I've been actively trying to find out who and where someone had said something untrue, and I can't. I had assumed that with the seeming ubiquity of false claims floating around on the internet, as you suggest, it would be rather easy to find. What am I missing? The only hypothesis I came up with is perhaps you feel that people speculating about details because they don't have information is the equivalent of spreading false information? In situations like this, I imagine there will be speculation because confusing word choices that are not entirely consistent. Anyway, I am on the outside of this and just want to see less division and more inclusion. That's all. Peace. I sent that not really thinking he would reply, but I did take a little bit of, maybe all of like 2 or 3 minutes to write that out, just so I could maybe try and hook him in so I could get my my question answered. And lo and behold, he did answer me. by saying this at JW Thoughts. I think part of the problem is that nobody knows about my life and work better than the person whose life and work it is, me, and therefore I'm in the best position to identify when something is said about me that is wrong or untrue. It would be like me making a video about you and your private life, containing numerous falsehoods, and someone saying, sorry, but I can't see anything untrue in any of that. In the case of Kim, you must also bear in mind that her defamation has been spread across multiple platforms, namely Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, and Jehovah'sWitness.com, so it's a rather arduous, time-consuming, not to mention emotionally draining task, tracking down every word she's written or spoken and identifying all the examples of falsehoods in a format that's easy for a court to consider. But we managed to do a pretty decent job before the deadline. Thanks for the positive tone of your comment. I try and be a fairly positive, reasonable, rational person, at least 6 days a week. Maybe Tuesdays aren't my best day, but anyway, so to that, I replied, I suppose time will reveal the truth of it all. One last question would be, if the lawsuit flops, not saying it will because how the hell would I know, but if it does, are you going to apologize to the people in the lawsuit? That was poorly worded, but basically, if the courts and court of public opinion find everyone not guilty, maybe an open apology would be in order. On the reverse side, if they are all guilty, then that will be all the vindication you would need, and I reckon at least some of them would apologize. To that, he said, yes, let's see what happens. I've never heard before of unsuccessful plaintiffs in criminal lawsuits being compelled to issue apologies to the defendants. Such a practice would pose serious problems in abuse cases. But I've never had a problem apologizing to those whom an apology is owed. And this was the point that I knew I could get to if I just put a little bit of my 3 caveman brain cells to work. Him just saying, I've never had a problem apologizing to someone if they are owed an apology, because to my knowledge, there was like a big whopper, just like a massive apology that should be given, and I can't figure out why you would say I have no problem apologizing to people, and you don't apologize to people that, at least in my mind, you guys can comment down below and let me know if I'm crazy or not, but you're about to find out what I'm referring to. Yes, so my reply to that was, not to be nitpicky, but what about the truth about the truth? There are lots of people involved in that project that have been spending an incredible amount of time and resources getting it finished now. I imagine they are having to scramble like crazy to figure out their next steps. Don't you think maybe they deserve an apology? Maybe you have and I didn't see it, as I am not really the internet troll type. We are adults here with seemingly functioning brains and can understand that actions have consequences, and your actions had the consequence of them not wanting you on the project, right? Again, there's a damn good chance that I missed it, because I am but a humble caveman that asks questions and likes to think fast and talk slow. And to this, he replied with, well, if you look on the thread now, you'll see that he replied with nothing. So we'll just keep that timeline because that's the one that we have before us. But I did manage to screenshot something before it magically disappeared out into the ether. So let's just give you the full timeline and then we'll fill in the blanks. So my reply to seemingly nothing now says, is it possible that based solely on things you have said, they no longer want you on the project? Why allow yourself to get kicked off if the information was false? Just demonstrate that it's not. I feel a tone shift happening as well, and it's certainly not on my end. And then I edited it, and I said, well, it looks like he removed the comment I was replying to, so this might seem out of context now. But he wasn't done. He actually did reply to that, and he said, are you seriously suggesting I removed a comment on someone else's channel? So this is the point where, well, now you've called in to question me as a person. Are you seriously suggesting I removed a comment on someone else's channel? No, we were trying to have a conversation, and up until this point, everything seemed fine. Now it's not. So I replied to that, I don't know, I can delete my own comments on this thread, but perhaps it got lost to the void. Sorry to imply that you would delete a comment, but to the matter at hand, what say you, sir? Is it not possible that based solely on things you have said, they wanted you not to be on the project? To which he never replied. And the fact that he never replied after saying, are you seriously suggesting I would remove a comment on someone else's channel, is pretty telling to me. Now, to be fair, I contacted Kim. She looked through, she said, well, I didn't remove any comments from this. So I said, well, can you just look in, so on YouTube, on the creator side of it, you'll get like this little thing where it's held for review. So you can see comments that YouTube takes down for whatever reason that they might have. But you can go in there and approve them so that way they become public again. Now, you can't tell if someone just deletes their own comment, but at least that I'm aware of. But I did screenshot all of this because I had heard from other people, and many more people since then, that have... It's kind of shocking how many people have said the exact same thing. Yeah, it seemed like he just started deleting parts of my comments and his comments. That way it like changed the narrative, and then got upset for me saying, wait, did you delete my comment? But if it keeps happening over and over and over and over again, something smells a little fishy. Something smells a little goofy. So you're probably all asking yourself, well, Wally, can you get to it? Can you make a darn point in less than 25 minutes? Well, the answer is no. No, I cannot make a point in less than 25 minutes. So, what is this mysterious comment that I'm referring to? Well, again, now this is the point where you're going to have to ask yourself, who's lying here? Because it's either me, and I've fabricated this entire thing because I want to see Lloyd Evans taken down, because that's the kind of guy I am, gosh darn it. Or Kim Silvio's lying because she doesn't care about integrity or the truth whatsoever, and she just wants to gain followers after herself. Or Lloyd Evans is lying because he was trying to save face with the public and has a lot to lose if he's caught saying ridiculous things. And what I'm about to read to you is ridiculous, and I'm going to demonstrate why. Oh boy, hold on tight, bucko. You, Lloyd Evans says at JW Thoughts, you want me to apologize to Truth About the Truth because they bowed to pressure from the mob stirred up by the defamation campaign and took the decision to oust me from working on the project? I need to apologize because they have more work on their hands now because they took the decision to not let me work with them anymore based on wrong information? You started off sounding quite reasonable, but I'm really struggling to understand your logic and how apologies work and should be dispensed. So, I think, okay, first off, I don't know where the mob is, and I wasn't aware that there was a campaign. Apparently, maybe some of my friends that are involved in this, they haven't gotten me in on the action. But I would think they would have at least asked me if I wanted to join the campaign. I like campaigning. That seems kind of cool. We all get together. It's like a little hangout sesh. And certainly, if there's a mob, hey, I'm down to mob it up a little bit. But I guess maybe they just don't want me to be part of that. But anyway, what is he talking about? Because they bowed to the pressure from the mob. Well, I asked myself, well, how about we just ask the people that are working on the project? And that way we can just hear it from their mouths and not your version of the story. So, what is it from their mouths? I quote, after having asked Lloyd Evans to resign from the project and him not wanting to, Javier Ortiz says, I arrived at this decision based solely on the admissions Mr. Evans made in his January live stream. I arrived at this decision based solely on the admissions made in his January live stream. So Lloyd wants me to believe that the truth about the truth and the creators surrounding that are bowing to the pressure of a mob. But if you go and ask them, they say no, it's based solely off of what you've said. So now, do we think there might be a reason to think that he was the one that deleted this comment? So not only did he just make something up, because the actual reason he was removed from that project was because of what he admitted. Full stop. Then he tries to claim something about this mob stirred up in campaigns and everyone's coming out with their pitchforks, and then calls me unreasonable, and then says, are you seriously suggesting I would delete one of my own comments? When I've talked to a lot of people, they've all said the same thing. Yeah, he tends to just delete comments and shift the narrative. What? Again, I'm not your dad. I'm not here to think for you. Don't be sheep. Think for yourself. And this is quite important because this was only a few days ago. And when we are talking about, why are people still talking about this subject? Why can't people just get over the Lloyd Evans drama, move on with your day, all of this, blah, blah, blah. It's important because it's still happening, and it's important because he's calling into question other people's motives. It's not an internalized thing that's just behind closed doors. He's bringing in the integrity of the Truth About the Truth documentary. He's saying that they're cowards, bowing down to misinformation. And when I ask a simple question like, well, if it was misinformation, why you let yourself get kicked off? Just demonstrate that the information is false. Everyone can shake hands, have a beer, and move on with their day. But no, there is false information being given, I feel, and this to me is a clear example. Again, I could be making this all up. I could be. Don't really know why I would, but maybe you who thinks I'm making it up down in the YouTube comment section, maybe you can give me a good reason why I'm making it up, because, or maybe Lloyd can give me a good reason, seeing as how he likes to think for other people or tell people what's going on inside of their minds. Now, the whole purpose of bringing up this Truth About the Truth documentary was to get to a end place, and that was, I had a question about the Andrew Gold debacle, as we'll call it. So Lloyd Evans went on a podcast with Andrew Gold called On the Edge. And in that, he said the following.
Sexual repression, where all of these things are incredibly taboo. I can understand why lots of people feel very disappointed, even to the point where they may feel like I owe them personally an apology. But I take apologies very seriously. It's actually, those who know me well know that I actually apologize quite readily. And I personally feel like if just about anyone can turn up and receive an apology from me, then it weakens, in my view, the currency of the apology to the one person I really do need to apologize to, which is my wife. So I'm adamant about the fact that, no matter how people have been trying to blow things completely out of proportion and talk about, sex trafficking and all sorts of things, no sex took place that wasn't between consenting adults. And the thing that I did wrong was that I was unfaithful to my wife, and it's my wife who deserves an apology. And again, I think the vast majority of my viewers understand that. I'm never going to be able to satisfy every last person on Twitter, especially when a good number of people on Twitter very clearly have their knives out for me. and just want to see me. I almost feel like they just want to see me destitute on the street, or maybe even jumped off a bridge or whatever. They want to see me out of the picture altogether. They can jump up and down all they like about demanding an apology, but I can only apologize when I do something wrong, and the person who deserves an apology in my mind is my wife.
It's a tough one. It's that conflation of like people trying to suggest you did something that you didn't, and as you say, it was only adults. It's just that issue of consent and the history of, you know, with prostitution in Thailand, and I don't know too much about Croatia. You can never know. And again, I don't intend to moralize.
Well, the only thing I've ever said about sex workers was regarding before going to Thailand. This is, again, and if you think about it, there's a sort of, I don't want to say kind of racism about it, but, you know, to suggest that this is all that can be said about Thailand, this is the last word on Thailand. And that's not to minimize that there aren't huge problems with sex trafficking in Thailand, but to suggest that when you go to Thailand, oh, well, it must be because of this, you know, it must be because of sex trafficking. Well, what you're doing then is you're, in a way, being incredibly condescending about an entire country. You know, I went to Thailand because I wanted to go to Asia for the first time and experience somewhere completely new and, to my mind, exotic. I wanted to go scuba diving. I wanted to experience the food, the culture, everything. It had absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with sex workers.
Oh, or once you were there, you then, that the sex workers happened.
But this is what I'm saying. People have literally taken, oh, he went to Thailand and run away with this narrative.
Okay, so that didn't happen.
I've never spoken about it.
It was in Croatia.
It was in other countries, in Croatia and other countries, before I went to Thailand, that I was unfaithful. Actually, when I went to Thailand, my wife and I were separated.
So we have the I always apologize aspect. And I honestly think this is the strangest 3 minutes of YouTube content that I've consumed all year. Like, it was bizarre. But in there he says, well, I always apologize. So I kind of knew by asking certain questions he would say that to me as well. But then he also said that I only saw prostitutes in Croatia and other countries, plural. Other countries, plural. Now, I don't know about you, but when I've traveled to other countries, when you go through customs, they always ask you, business or pleasure? I don't think you just end up randomly in other countries. So I think that seems simple enough. So to me, there's 3 possibilities here when he's saying other countries. Either you are, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is me speculating, because, I mean, Lloyd, if you'd like to just tell us, then we would know and we wouldn't have to speculate. Problem solved. But either you're going and seeing prostitutes while you're on vacation with your family. Ew. Super yucky. You have a pattern of going on vacations by yourself. And while you're on vacation by yourself, you are seeing sex workers, which kind of destroys this whole narrative of, well, why do people think that I only went to Thailand to see sex workers? Well, if this is a pattern that you've had where when you go on vacation by yourself and leave your wife and kids behind, you see sex workers, again, ew, yucky. Yucky from the aspect of lying to your family. That's like, imagine like, Daddy, where are you going? Oh, I'm just off to the shop real quick, love, be right back. That is so gross to just lie to your children. I mean, I imagine that when you leave the house, you offer some sort of explanation to your family, correct? Like, you say, hey, I'm out of here, I'll see you later. Who knows? It's behind closed doors, but again, ew. Or the third option here is you're doing it while you're working. And what do you do for work? Well, things like travel for the Truth About the Truth documentary and to do interviews. So again, that whole gray area of where your money is coming from and how you're using donated money from your patrons, again, that gets called into question as well. Because if you're seeing sex workers while you're out working, you're like a businessman that not only goes and sees prostitutes while he's out on business, but then uses the company card. Again, it's a gray area, so it would be hard to like work all of those things out. But I say, what say you, sir? Which of those three options is it? And if I've missed one, I don't think I have, but if I have, let me know, because I could be wrong in this. But if you break it down in that sort of simple way, did you see sex workers while you were on vacation with your family? Is this a pattern where you're taking vacations by yourself? Or were you seeing them when you were out working, traveling for work? I don't know how anyone would want to support any of that behavior. I don't know if there's an ultra defensible position that's going on here. Now, the other aspect of this, and I'll just close that, is if we're going to have to decide, is Wally lying, is Kim lying, is Lloyd lying? I mean, we can just make it, is it Cicero, I think? Who has the most to lose, essentially? We could just use that as a foundation. But if we wanted to go a little bit deeper, well, can we just simply demonstrate that Mr. Evans is willing to just lie to the public, just directly to their face? Well, remember that 3-minute clip I played for you earlier? Yeah, so there's something in there as well, because he said when Andrew asked him, you know, so you didn't see sex workers in Thailand, he says, exactly. When like 10 minutes before in the interview, he said he dated a sex worker.
You know, ultimately, the bottom line is, are we talking about sex between consenting adults, or are we not talking about sex between consenting adults?
Well, I suppose with prostitution, it's a blurry line with regards to consent and where that, you know, we don't know. That's the truth of it. You couldn't know a Thai prostitute.
Well, I dated a sex worker in Thailand.
I think initially when this came out during his live stream, he was attacking Kim. I haven't watched it, and I think it's fully deleted now, but I didn't save it or anything like that. I didn't care at the time. But I believe he was suggesting that it was ridiculous that Kim was even suggesting that he saw sex workers while he was there. But then in a Facebook post like 2 weeks later, he definitely said he did, and now he's on a podcast saying he didn't. This is, you either saw sex workers in Thailand or you didn't. You can't say both. And if someone is willing to just directly lie to the public like that, because I don't think that this is delusional, his behavior is at least, at a bare minimum, suggesting that he knows what is going on. He knows what he's doing. Someone's not going to delete a comment and then say, why would you say I deleted a comment, you crazy person? Like, this is the GIMP of the century. GIMP is gaslight, intensely, manipulate passively, for anyone that wants to know why I use that word. But anywho, I would like to just give my final thoughts on the situation, and I might get a little bit excited, so I'm going to go get the all-famous candle. Now, here is the point where all of us are involved. We've been sitting back, you know, with the popcorn in hand, just observing sort of these goofy goobers doing some very strange and odd things, and you kind of just like, okay, well, do I really care? And the more I looked into it, the more I talked to people, the more I realized that this does matter, because integrity matters. And do you want the single leading voice in a entire community, your community, my community? Do you want that to be someone that's willing to lie right to your face? Do you want that to be someone that's willing to say, are you seriously suggesting I would delete my comment? When all signs are really pointing to that. Again, judge for yourselves. But if you don't like that example, we can demonstrate from his own words that he is willing to lie to the public. It's demonstrable. We looked up what he had in the when what he said in the Andrew Gold podcast is all you need. You are lying to people. And when you're talking about defamation and bullying and all of this stuff that I still can't even figure out, because I seriously have attempted and tried to find out what he's talking about. But it's everything I see is just people talking about what he's already admitted to. So I don't really understand that aspect of it. But I don't have the time to watch every single YouTube and live stream and hear every comment and everything. That seems very exhausting and tiring, and I'm not terribly interested. But at the very least, it doesn't seem like, you know, you type in Lloyd Evans on the internet and then all of this smear campaign and lies and misinformation pop up. I'm guessing it's like maybe it's a few quiet people in the corner, and I guess I can address that because I have seen one aspect of it, and that's involving some fake emails, I believe, but those were, it seemed, universally shouted down, and shame on you, anyone that's going to try and use fake information. That's exactly what, you know, apostates would do. My thinking on this, maybe it might be pretty out there, but my sort of tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is maybe someone on Team Lloyd was the one that actually is perpetuating this. That way he has something to point to. Because it's such a tiny few people, I think, that are perpetuating those things, that are talking about those things. I don't know if it really matters all that much. And the important thing is, how are we, as people that are trying to help people leaving the Jehovah's Witness organization, people leaving Watchtower, need some semblance of relief? Are you helping that? And everyone that is supportive all says the exact same thing. Like, well, he helped me so much and his videos are so great. No one's calling into question that. But does integrity matter to you? That's where it gets a little hinky. Now, I'm guilty of this myself. Whether it's like a music artist or a filmmaker or something, I'm probably guilty of enjoying people's content that they make, the music, movie, videos that they produce. And in their private lives, they're less than admirable. But someone that is doing it to this level and that is willing to not apologize to people that deserve an apology, in my opinion, and I think in most people's opinion, and someone that's willing to lie right to my face and is consistently doing this, and it appears this has been a pattern for several years, that's the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm out. If you told me my favorite artist, you know, was doing what he's admitted to doing himself, and I just run through the scenario of, Wally, you have 2 little girls at home and a wife that cares about you. And, almost emotional there. And you just kiss them on the head and say you're going off to the shop, or you say, oh, you're going out of town because you have work to do. When you're doing things that are going to eventually hurt them, because they're going to grow up and hear about all this, and they're going to remember, that time that he said that we couldn't go to the zoo because he had work to do, and I had to go, again, this is just me speculating, and obviously I don't live there. I don't know the actual scenario, but it upsets me to the point where I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like you. I think yuck. That's very yucky, and I don't like that, and I don't want to put my tacit stamp of approval on someone that's lying to precious, innocent little children. Just a personal thing of mine. I don't know what your personal feelings are on lying to little children and then going and seeing prostitutes. But for me personally, not something I'm super cool with. So when it comes down to it, is what's, all of us have to ask ourselves the question is, do we want to be supportive of a person that is behaving in this way? Does integrity matter to you? Does honesty matter to you? And if not, hey, I'm not here to hold your hand through life. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You can do whatever you want. And honestly, it's fine. That's totally fine. But I am still going to say yucky, icky, stinky poo-poo, because I don't like when people are behaving in some of the ways that we've demonstrated now. So, to sum it all up, my big question was, have you apologized to the people from The Truth About the Truth? Because there are many people that have been working on that for years and years and years, and Lloyd Evans seems like he doesn't need to apologize to them, even though a project that's already taken a long time is going to take needlessly longer in going through and getting the final edit of it finished because of the things that he did. He was the one that says, I'm going to go and see a prostitute, and I'm going to lie to my wife and kids. He did that. No one else did that. So that's not bullying someone. Okay? That is not bullying. That's not defamation. That's me just saying what happened. Say, Wally, you're wearing a hat today. Defamation, bullying. Why are you talking about my hat? It's my hat. Leave me alone. Okay, so we can just oust that right out of the gate. And then the question is, well, since you like talking about this subject so much, Mr. Lloyd, and continue to bring it up when other people aren't, well, I am now, so I guess I'm a little bit of a hypocrite here, but whatever. Bring it on. What is the answer to my other question? Did you see sex workers on vacation by yourself, which means it was a pattern for you, and you did this often? And also, just as a quick side note to that, don't most people, wouldn't you rather, because traveling is quite expensive, but in my mind, I would rather save up money to go on vacation with my family rather than go by myself. So if that was the pattern where you're like, well, I just need a quick little break, or I need a quick little vacation, and that's when you saw prostitutes, that's okay. That's a pattern that you've had for a while then, or did you do it while you were working? So I would genuinely like to know. I mean, just to sort of put it to bed, and maybe by answering that question publicly and facing it full frontal nudity style, like, okay, I'm actually addressing this thing. Maybe you can actually learn something. Maybe you can improve yourself. Maybe you can start the process of becoming a better person. Like, hey, this is actually how I did it. Instead of just yelling at people, instead of suing people, instead of gaslighting people, instead of calling me unreasonable, and instead of you calling me, oh, are you seriously suggesting I would do that? You're calling into question my integrity, bucko, so I'm going to say something about it. Anyway, that was a good little 10-minute rant. That wasn't bad. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I do very much appreciate it. If I've said anything wrong, if I've said anything offensive, if I've gotten a fact wrong, please let me know. That way I can modify it and make a public statement saying, hey, I got this thing wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't want to mislead you, because that's important to me. Anywho, with all of that being said, I will see you guys on Saturday for the live stream. Bye.